welcome back to our channel. It is a truly beautiful day to gather around and discuss the thrilling, tangled webs being woven in our favorite fictional town. And we are absolutely delighted to share these moments of suspense and drama with you. As someone who has dedicated over 6 decades of my life to following every twist, turn, and heartbreak in this universe, I can confidently say that the current landscape is one of the most morally complex eras we have ever witnessed. Back in my younger days, it was so much simpler to distinguish the valiant heroes from the mustache-twirling villains, but today, that comforting clarity has completely vanished. The lines between justice and deception have been so thoroughly blurred that I often find myself questioning the motives of characters I once trusted implicitly. This brings me to the incredibly tense and dangerous situation currently unfolding, which threatens to tear down the very foundations of the intelligence community and put some of our most beloved residents in grave, inescapable peril. My heart aches with anxiety every time I see Joe on screen lately, because this dedicated detective is walking directly into a meticulously laid trap. Joe has always been a staunch defender of the law, a man who believes that the truth must prevail regardless of the consequences. However, his current determination to expose the hidden realities surrounding Britt could very well be his undoing. Will Joe face severe, life-threatening danger if he shatters the official narrative? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. The intelligence agency he is going up against does not take kindly to local detectives poking holes in their carefully constructed lies. Joe is pulling at a thread that could unravel a massive international cover-up, and I fear he simply does not comprehend the sheer ruthlessness of the people who are currently watching his every move from the shadows. The crux of this impending disaster lies in the heartbreaking truth that Britt so bravely shared with Joe. It makes my blood boil to think about what she went through. According to the official, sanitized reports, Ross was painted as a valiant operative, a man who supposedly sacrificed for the greater good. But Britt exposed the ugly, terrifying reality. Ross was nothing more than a despicable double agent. The sheer cruelty of his actions is difficult for me to even stomach. He blackmailed a vulnerable Britt using a completely fabricated cure for Huntington's disease. Can you imagine the profound psychological torture of being handed hope for a terminal illness, only to realize it is a manipulative lie designed to control you? Ross was a monster, not a hero, and Joe's discovery of this sickening extortion is the catalyst that could blow this entire storyline wide open. What truly deeply terrifies me is the fragility of the official cover story that has been fed to the public and the authorities alike. If Joe manages to find concrete, undeniable evidence of Ross's monstrous blackmail and his status as a double agent, the entire house of cards will come crashing down in spectacular fashion. The agency has invested an enormous amount of resources into protecting the legacy of a traitor simply to save face and maintain their facade of global superiority. They have twisted the narrative so severely that the truth is now a fatal threat to their operations. I find myself shouting at the screen, begging Joe to tread carefully, because exposing an agency that is willing to cover up medical extortion and treason is a surefire way to get a target permanently painted on your back. This brings me to the deeply troubling presence of Jack, who perfectly embodies the absolute moral decay of the modern intelligence community. Now, Jack may not be a double agent in the traditional sense, but he is certainly no saint, and he masterfully blurs the boundaries between the good guys and the bad guys. I have watched him operate with a chilling level of arrogance, completely disregarding the ethical standards that are supposed to govern law enforcement. Jack has built quite a notorious reputation for himself by actively hiding, altering, and manipulating crucial evidence to serve his own clandestine purposes. His power might currently be confined to the local area, but the damage he is capable of inflicting is astronomical. He represents a system that believes the end always justifies the means, no matter who gets crushed underfoot in the process. It is infinitely frustrating to watch how this agency operates with total impunity, completely steamrolling over the local police department whenever they see fit. Do they ever bother to seek cooperation or share jurisdiction on these critical cases? Of course not. They simply swoop in, flash their credentials, and snatch the investigations right out of the hands of the local detectives. We have seen this happen time and time again, and it sets a dangerous precedent of lawlessness disguised as national security. They operate above the law, answering to no one, which makes Joe's solitary crusade for the truth all the more daunting. He is a local cop trying to slay a global dragon, and the power imbalance is staggering to witness. Adding another layer of infuriating complexity to this mess is the involvement of Jocelyn. It is shocking to see how the younger generation is so quick to compromise their integrity when the stakes are high. Jocelyn is actually the root cause of this massive cover-up regarding the so-called heroic actions of Ross's family. In a move that still leaves me shaking my head in disbelief, she actively traded that fabricated narrative to secure the freedom of both Valentine and Jason. She bartered with a lie to get what she wanted, proving that the infectious corruption of the agency has seeped into the civilian population as well. She willingly participated in the distortion of history, and while her motives might have been born out of loyalty to her loved ones, her actions have helped solidify a dangerous falsehood. And let us not forget about Z, who certainly is not the shining knight in armor that some might hope for. If Z were truly a man of unwavering morals, he never would have entertained Jocelyn's deceitful offers in the first place. But he did listen, and he did accept the terms, further proving my point that it is practically impossible to find a genuinely good person in this entire convoluted mess. They are all operating in the gray, twisting the truth to fit their own selfish narratives. It seems that being a completely good, honorable person is a relic of the past, a concept that has been entirely abandoned in favor of survival and manipulation. The moral compass of everyone involved is spinning wildly out of control. The historical context of this deception is equally maddening, especially when we look at the conflicting memories of veteran characters like Anna and Liesel. It is astonishing to remember that even a seasoned, brilliant operative like Anna once believed that Ross was a genuinely good man. How could someone with her experience be so thoroughly fooled? Meanwhile, we have Liesel, who vehemently blames Ross for the horrific psychological manipulation and mind control she endured. Yet, Anna remains steadfast in her belief that the true culprit behind that mind control was Cassius. This profound disagreement highlights just how effective the agency's lies have been over the decades. If two of the most intelligent women in town cannot agree on who tortured them, how can we expect a local detective to unravel the truth? To truly understand the danger Joe is facing, we must look back at the horrifying precedent set by Ross's treatment of Jason. Will we ever forget the sheer terror of that moment? Ross did not bother with trivial things like arrest warrants or due process. He simply had his men grab Jason, throw him into a vehicle, and spirit him away in the dead of night. It was a blatant, terrifying kidnapping carried out under the guise of official agency business. They transported Jason halfway across the world to a secret, undocumented black site in Jakarta. This is the reality of what happens when you cross these people. You do not get a phone call. You do not get a lawyer. You simply vanish from the face of the earth. The thought of what Jason endured in that Jakarta facility keeps me awake at night. It is painfully obvious to anyone paying attention that he was subjected to unspeakable mistreatment. He was undoubtedly starved, abused, and entirely stripped of his humanity. The agency did not give a single fleeting thought to his basic human rights. They treated him like an animal, a disposable asset to be broken and discarded. These chilling allegations about the brutal methods employed at these undisclosed locations raise deeply disturbing questions about the true nature of this organization. They are not protectors. They are torturers operating under the protective umbrella of government sanction. So I must ask the terrifying question that hangs over this entire storyline. If Joe succeeds in exposing Britt's truth, will he end up exactly like Jason? Will he be snatched off the street and shipped to a dark, damp cell in Jakarta to ensure the official story remains intact? I firmly believe the answer is a resounding yes. It would not surprise me in the slightest if the agency orchestrated his quiet disappearance. Joe is becoming a massive liability, and in their twisted minds, eliminating a local detective is a small price to pay to protect their global reputation. The danger is palpable, and I find myself holding my breath every time Joe gets closer to the missing pieces of the puzzle. Despite the overwhelming odds, I cannot help but admire Joe's unwavering character. He is not a man who can be easily bought, bribed, or intimidated. Unlike the two-faced operatives he is investigating, Joe stands firm in his convictions. He is a true supporter of law and order, and whether these agents are technically double agents or just deeply corrupt no longer matters to him. He sees a crime and he wants to solve it. However, his rigid adherence to the rules might be his fatal flaw in a game where the opponent has no rules whatsoever. He is bringing a magnifying glass to a gunfight, and my heart races with anticipation and dread as I watch him forge ahead into the darkness. It is fascinating to note that Joe is capable of discretion when he chooses to be, which makes his relentless pursuit of the agency even more compelling. He has managed to keep his deep-seated suspicions incredibly quiet regarding the explosive secret that the notorious mafia boss Sonny is actually the biological father of the acting police commissioner, Dante. Joe knows that revealing this truth would cause unimaginable personal destruction, and he has chosen to hold his tongue. Yet, when it comes to the systemic, institutionalized corruption of the intelligence agency, he refuses to look the other way. This contrast highlights his complex moral code. He will protect a family's painful secret, but he will not protect a corrupt government entity.